Welcome to the episode of Web-Based Technologies and this series on learning PHP. In this session, we're going to be looking at arrays. An array is a variable that can contain multiple values. In this example, I've already got some code in place. This way you can see that I've got three variables, city1, city2, city3. And these hold the values of Adelaide, Brisbane, and Canberra. And we're just echoing out each of the variables one by one on separate lines. So we've got city1, then a break, city2, then a break, then finally city3. And if we look at this in the browser, this will print out Adelaide, Brisbane, Canberra. But let's look at putting these into an array instead. So let's go back to our code, add a few lines, and we'll create a new variable called city equals, and we'll use the array function to place in our values. So instead of these being sitting in their separate variables, they'll now sit in an array of the city variable. So I'll just quickly put these into place. And lastly, Canberra. Perfect, and finish off with your semicolon, and we can then delete these three variables. We no longer need them. So you can see that we've condensed down 3 lines of code into 1 line of code, and these are done by an array. Now we have a problem here. So we've got echo city1, echo city2, echo city3. Now we no longer have these values, these variables in place. What we need to do is we can change this to be city bracket 0, bracket 1, and then bracket 2. So why are we starting them off with 0? In an array, the first index of the array is of 0. So even though we have 3 values within the city variable, we start off at 0 and end off at 2. So if we save that, look at our browser, you can still see that Adelaide, Brisbane, and Canberra are still in place. So we'll go back to our code again. Let's make this a little bit more simple. Let's add a few lines in, and we're going to start off with a for statement. So we're going to loop through our array. Create a counter. So we'll start off at 0, because remember, the array index needs to start off at 0. And then I is less than, and we're going to use a function called count city. So what this is going to do is going to count the length of the city array, or the size of the city array. And then we just increment the I counter by 1 during each iteration. Inside our for loop, all we require is an echo city, and instead of placing in a numeric value, we just put in the counter, so I. This way, if our array continues to grow, we don't have to continue to add new and new lines of the city variable. Add our line break, just for good measure. And with a semicolon, delete the other 3 and save. So I'll refresh the page, and you can still see it says Adelaide, Brisbane, and Canberra. Now if I go back to the array and add in an additional city, so we'll go Darwin, then Hobart, then Melbourne, save, go back to my browser, refresh the page, and you can see those 3 additional cities have been added to the loop. So we didn't have to change any of the output code in the source, because we used that looping situation. And that's how we use arrays in PHP.